Well, good afternoon, fast am I. Welcome along to Manx Radio's Mannin Line. This is, of course, open line through until 1 o'clock. For you to talk about any topic you like. Alex sitting in for Andy for the next couple of weeks. I don't know, he's at home sorting out the plumbing or something. What would you like to talk about today? Well, an investment in guaranteeing our heritage infrastructure. That is how the former infrastructure minister has described the business case to secure the future of the Douglas Bay Horse Tramway and Tramway Terrace. Yeah, the Horse Trams, they've still not finished. And they keep very quiet about why, don't they? Also, of course, that traffic jam that everyone is talking about today in terms of the closure of the old Castletown Road, which is causing an absolute nightmare because it does bring up that topic, doesn't it, of is there any joined-up thinking in government? Because we're running a contingency service because of the ongoing industrial action with the buses, which means there are more cars on the road. So they close off an integral route into town. Now, I know the claim is it's an emergency road closure. However, the plans that are shown online say that they're dated the 13th of January. So it's not that emergency if it's been 2 months since the plans were drawn up. And are there not contingencies to maybe keep the road open one way? I do apologise to many of you who've been stuck in traffic this morning. You can imagine our phones have been ringing off the hook and text messages are going absolutely mad. Thank you to Raymond for such a main route that should be on the job 24 hours a day in shifts to get it done in a couple of days rather than a couple of weeks. My usual school run took 1 hour and 15 minutes, says Stacey. Thank you very much. 2 hours to get from Colby to Onken. Whoever made this decision is absolutely crazy. And that's from Nathan. Thank you, Nathan. Chris says, took me 2 hours to drive in from Port Erin to Onken this morning. A number of children we've heard reported being late in for school. Linda left Port Erin at just gone 8 this morning, arrived in Douglas at 20 past 10. Kelly says, yes, some students missed all of period 1 due to the traffic queues, reported them spending over an hour in the car to get to school. So why has the road been permitted to be completely and utterly closed, a main arterial route into town, for works that have been planned since January, when there is also industrial action on our buses? That is a question. Do you have an opinion on this? Do let us know on 66 13 68. Also, you can text me 166 177. An MHK who's called for speed restrictions around the schools in her constituency insists it was never her intention for there to be a blanket 20-mile-an-hour speed limit on the island. And what's your opinion on this? Right, there are lots of times that you do find that our politicians say that there is never an intention for this, but there's lots of unintended consequences that come out of their legislation, which later they kind of wash their hands over. Is that one of these occasions? Okay, or do you support the fact that actually the unintended consequence of following up for a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit in a local area was then effectively going to be pushed out island-wide in a blanket fashion? Okay, I'd love to know your opinion. 66 13 68. But back once again to that story I mentioned at the top, an investment in guaranteeing our heritage infrastructure. That's how the island's former infrastructure minister has described a business case to secure the future of the Douglas Bay Horse Tramway and also Tramway Terrace. It comes ahead of a motion due to be considered in this month's Tynwald sitting, calling for a business case and capital funding request to complete the reinstatement of the rails to the sea terminal after they were ripped up by the DOI as part of the Promenade project. The former infrastructure minister, Michelle Haywood, MHK, and behind the motion, the MHK Sarah Maltby, and also heritage campaigner Charles Gard, have all been speaking to Phil Gaughan on yesterday's Perspective.
I just happen to be a heritage campaigner, and I think the horse trams should have been put back where they were found. And as you may know if you watch the video, for 9 years Tynwald have been voting to say yes, they're going to do it, and here we are at the end of another 5-year period and nobody's done anything at all that I could see. I mean, Michelle, as we know, had got a business case together and was presumably going to put it to Tynwald at some point. I have lobbied, I'm on committees, I've petitioned Tynwald, etc. Over the years, nothing has happened. So I thought, well, I'll just sit down and shout at them and see if anything happens then. And, you know, fair do, Sarah's come forward now with this motion, and at last the members of Tynwald will have the opportunity to vote either yes or no. and we'll see where we go.
And why does any of this matter? Because I'm guessing part of the reason that 9 years on, the tram hasn't been reinstated to its full length is about an assessment some members may have been making that actually it's just not worth the money.
It's a fantastic piece. I'm sorry, it's a piece of World Heritage, and we are responsible for it. And all we're asking is you put back a mile and a bit of rail so a horse can pull a tram along it. I mean, surely that's not outside the skill and wit of this government.
And I imagine, Sarah, your frustration in putting forward this motion was exacerbated by Charles's video.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't take a telling off from Mr. Guard and not act on it. However, you introduced me at the beginning as Douglas South MHK, obviously incredibly proud to be so. But since being elected, I do serve on Manx National Heritage. I'm on the Visit Isle of Man board, Destination First board, and all of these active committees are all asking for the horse tram railway to be reinstated. So this isn't just something that I've kind of cropped up with and thought that would be a good idea. I serve with Charles on the Destination First board, and we have said this is something that needs to be reinstated because it's just part of a hangover really from what Michelle was just talking about, but it's just trying to put back together what should have been. It was always planned to be, and it's just asking for that to now come forward, and so we can see what the information is that the DOI has. I don't have any of that information, and so it'd be really helpful to be able to understand the problem. At the moment we don't have that, and I think that's what I'm asking for in this Timwood motion, is that we can have visibility of what the issue is, what the cost is, and what the implementation plan might look like. I think that's perfectly reasonable.
And I suppose it could be reasonably argued that to go so far on the less popular part would indicate that maybe this has just been a case of actually we've run out of money, and the department is being quite straightforward and open about this.
I think you always had to connect the stables into whatever's happening.
Yeah.
So you couldn't have a break and then started partway along. So you have to have started from there. And I think that's the other business case that I know is working its way through, because I asked for a heritage impact assessment to happen, is what to do with Tramway Terrace. And that's the other. And I know previous ministers have said just drop it, drop it, drop it. I was pulling together a scheme that said actually keep the facade as much as we can, rebuild it, make it into a visitor centre that supports the stable down there, because that's a fantastic visitor attraction, going around and seeing the horses, and yet we've got this dilapidated falling down building covered in scaffold there. So that business case is also underway, and I was hoping to bring forward both of the business cases together on the basis of it was an investment in guaranteeing our heritage infrastructure. And I think we have to, we are but temporary guardians of these assets. We have to look at them as the previous generations have managed to preserve them and to conserve them. And we need to do the same. And it's really unfortunate when Douglas decided they're going to pull out, but actually you can see why, because all of these things cost. The railways cost us money,
and it's a
the
national
heritage
asset.
trams cost us money.
We should be paying for it.
And we have to look at that as investing in our island infrastructure. And although the visitor numbers probably are not going to soar from what they were, but we will see lots of cruise ship passengers come off and they book a sort of combined ticket, and they'll book forward, so they travel on the trams and they'll go and join the MER at the end of the prom, and they'll travel up to Laxey and they'll get off and they'll go onto the mountain railway and travel up to the top of Snaefell. And that's quite a common route for them to do. And I think there's real scope for kind of leveraging as much as we can out of that market.
Why is it that all this wonderful heritage infrastructure that we have, that you have some level of responsibility for, why is, as if Charles is right, so little being done to support our heritage?
Well, you're right. Absolutely right. I served in the Treasury for a short, 2.5 years at the very beginning of this administration. So I have got a good idea of the complexities and the challenges that Treasury are dealing with, and I do completely fully understand it. However, the current Treasury Minister has always been very keen to talk about maintenance, I think was one of his speeches that he gave so really passionately in Timwood one time. And actually, if you don't maintain what we have and you don't invest in what we have, then you lose it. And I think he's been a strong campaigner of that. So it'd be really helpful to see that in his short time that he has a Treasury Minister, whether he can do anything to commit further funding. But it's just not realistic. It's not something I think is going to happen. I think it does take a real push from everybody to say why it's important to them.
Why is our heritage important to us here? And why is it that there is this feeling that we're not investing in it too much? Is it a case that, we treasure our lovely island and what makes it different to everywhere else, and yet we don't want to invest in keeping it different to everywhere else? Is it the fact that we bring in too many people within government from the United Kingdom who just do not appreciate our island for what it is? They look at just numbers on a spreadsheet. How many officers throughout government who have the power over the purses are actually from the Isle of Man and care about the Isle of Man? That if you want to hear more from that programme, the latest episode of Perspective, it is available now as a podcast at manxradio.com. And the Treasury Minister, Chris Thomas, says that he will respond to Mrs Maltby's comments when the topic is up for debate in Tynwald. Of course, to give you some feedback, of course, that the Treasury Minister, Chris Thomas, was previously an infrastructure minister when they first reopened the shortened halfway horse trams. And thank you to Jenny, who sent me an email, which was one that she'd sent to Chris Thomas that he has replied to. And it states that Chris Thomas says, "I promise that if I'm re-elected and able to serve in a senior position in the next government, we will reinstate the horse tramway to the sea terminal in the next Parliament." So the question I have for you, Treasury Minister, is you were obviously the Infrastructure Minister. You are now the Treasury Minister. You're in a position of power within this government. Why have you done nothing? That is the question. Do you feel that a lot of the words from our politicians aren't worth the paper they're not printed on? Thank you very much, by the way, to Gary in Ramsey, who's texted in. Please feel free to give me a call. I'd love to speak to some new callers. 66 13 68. Gary in Ramsey says, you mentioned the road surface dressing. Are they running the TT this year? The reason I ask is that from the Ginger Hall through to Ramsey and from the hairpin to the waterworks, surely they can't expect racers to ride on that. This is what happens when they go cheap with spraying the road surface down. Good point, Gary. I drove on the coast road last night from Ramsey to Douglas, and I was shocked and appalled at the condition of it. From where they've sprayed down that surface dressing stuff over the last couple of years, and it's all coming up. It's all in patches. There's potholes everywhere. What are we spending our money on? If we've heard from the Treasury Minister, we're going to be spending it on maintenance. Well, can we have some resurfacing of our main arterial routes? The surfaces should be better, especially when the mountain road is closed so often. There's only 3 roads, I suppose, to the north from Douglas. 2 of them are on the TT course, which means, you could quite happily eat your breakfast off them. And then there's the coast road, which is like a third world road. So do we want more infrastructure investment? Gary and Ramsey says yes. Peter, talking of road closures, here we go. The mountain road from the 7th to the 17th of April will be closed 24 hours a day. Surely the department could introduce traffic lights to at least make the commute from Ramsey to Douglas somewhat easier and ease the congestion on the coast road. Well, this is a question. Why do we get so trigger happy with road closures now as opposed to having traffic light systems there to at least try and keep the flow moving? If anyone from the DOI would like to talk to us, we'd love to hear from you. Sue has been on about a different topic, actually. I'm quite concerned about the number of people on social media saying they're moving over here to get away from the declining UK. I've no problem with people relocating here, but I wonder if this is being monitored with a view to local resources such as overcrowded schools, medical and dental services. You raise a good topic, Sue. I mean, never a day goes past when we don't hear about people who are waiting for operations or they're on the waiting list for this, or Manx Care has knocked us down the list, or having to wait to see somebody. And you sit there going, it's back to a comment I made on the Mannin Line about a year ago. We're desperate to get people here. Bring us your money, and if they come, we will build it. It shouldn't work like that if you haven't got the infrastructure to support it. And thank you to Steve H. in Onken, who says, hearing about the traffic disruption this morning due to the closure of part of the old Castletown Road, I hope the contractor has been told firmly to get on with the works carried out as soon as possible, including evening and weekend working. I can't believe the DOI agreed to this when there are ongoing works on Cool Road and at Bradden Bridge. I passed the Cool Road works early on Friday just after 3:30 and the site was closed up with no works being carried out. Good job the buses aren't on strike. Oh, wait a minute, Steve. They are. I get your sarcasm there. So the question is, silence from the DOI. Okay, these are the questions that the people want answering. Why are you allowing so many roadworks at a time when there is also bus service disruption? Okay, where is the left hand talking to the right hand, or is it a case that actually we're just getting on with the works we need to do, and you're just going to have to sit in traffic and lump it? Well, we'd like to hear comments from the DOI if anyone would like to get in touch. Tim Crookle, if you're listening, please do give us a call, 66 1368. In a moment, we're going to chat to Julian.
Have you got your Manx Radio Gold open and closed door sign on display? If you put the sign in the entrance of your business, you could win 3 months of free advertising on Manx Radio Gold in 2026. Need a door sign? Email sales@manxradio.com and we'll get one straight to you. And if your door sign is already up, send us a photo and we'll put your business into the prize draw. Manx Radio Gold is the perfect soundtrack for your workplace, with fewer interruptions and only the greatest hits on earth, on your smart speaker and at gold.manxradio.com.
Manx Radio Gold.
Construction waste today.
Tells recycle for another day.
A builder skip or two.
Tells Skips will bring to you.
Need quality Type 1 stone for your building or contracting job? Then contact Tells with no minimum order for collection or delivery. Call 677 137. Visit Tells Limited in Snugborough or find Tells Limited on Facebook.
Skips are what they do.
We're the guys that hire one to you.
Call Tell Skips today.
677 137.
Give your home a facelift with Manx Glass and Glazing. Whether choosing aluminium or UPVC in traditional or contemporary styles, you can be sure of excellent workmanship and guarantees. Members of Construction Isle of Man and family run for over 40 years, Manx Glass and Glazing are committed to the local community and they invest in future generations through their apprenticeship scheme. Visit the impressive showroom on Snugborough Trading Estate. Trust Manx Glass and Glazing. Quality and style since 1986.
If you run a small business or just need more room in the back, Philshaw Vehicles has the perfect van or light commercial for all your needs and can sort out any finance. Based in the Tremode estate, view philshawvehicles.im or call 49 51 49.
Bright headlights on the road can hold you back. Holmes & Davidson Opticians present an advanced solution, our cutting-edge road lens coating. Significantly reducing glare, clarity is enhanced, driving confidence elevated. Experience safer and more confident vision. Trust Holmes & Davidson Opticians to keep you safer on the roads. Book your consultation today at holmesanddavidsonopticians.co.uk or call 676 230.
Manx Radio's Mannin Line through till 1 o'clock. Alex with you through till then. It's an open line. Talk about anything you want to. I've got loads of texts coming in, but it'd be even better to speak to you on the phone. 66 13 68. Brian has been on saying, why is everyone so obsessed with heritage? Don't they realise how many millions of pounds are pumped into it? Just think what else those millions could be spent on. Manx care, roads, social housing and training apprentices. Well, Brian, quite frankly, it's because it brings in money. I think at the last assessment, the sister report says that the railways alone bring in £11.5 million a year, which is far more than they cost to run, in the same way that the TT does. We spend millions upon millions upon millions of pounds on the TT when it comes to the motorsport team, all the police, the amount the DOI spend on the race course and the hospital, everything else like this. But it brings in economic benefits. So, Brian, that's why... that you spend money, so it's effectively an investment. So there's your answer. Because there is always better things to spend your money on. But if you're not actually making money, you haven't got the money to spend on it in the first place. Julian is on the line. Hello, Julian. How are you today?
All right, Alex. How are you?
Not so bad, sir. Surprise, surprise. You want to talk about climate change?
Well, that and weight loss drugs, if that's all right. Quick.
Oh, okay, yep.
Yeah. The news about the... advisor to the Climate Change Transformation Board making almost £800 a day.
Yeah, I'd like that. Wouldn't you? £800 a day?
Well, it just makes you wonder that the Transformation Board is made up of Jenny Wheeler, Claire Barber, Dawn Kinnish, Paul Crane, Joni Farragher, Tanya August Phillips, Ali Lewin, Nelja Bagirova, Amanda Barber, Tim Cowsall, Andrew Quayle and Steve Forden. I wonder if they're all on something like that. That's going to be a pretty penny in the bill, isn't it?
Well, I would presume, without the information to hand, that the MHKs and politicians you mentioned there, it'll be part of their salaried remit within the year. But from the story reads that effectively they've got an advisor in who's charged effectively a consultant's fee, haven't they, of about £800 a day? But it's still it's good money if you can get it, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, even better than the £640 a day for the carbon literacy course, I understand, a day. What was I going to say? Orsted agrees with me on something.
Ooh, crikey, date in the diary. Go on.
Yeah, the Mannin Generation Project Report, page 63, states the wind blows much more consistently out at sea than on land. Over the course of a typical year, an offshore wind turbine will generate about 41% of its theoretical maximum output, 41% load factor. So how is Caervia, Erie Stane, going to generate almost double that, Alex?
I'm not the person to answer that question, but it is a question to put out there, yeah.
I know. By the way, something close to your heart.
Go on.
Moore Vannin, one of the two intended landing points for their 100 million watt cable, is the field immediately adjacent to the Sea Lion Rocks tea rooms at the end of the Groudle Railway.
It is, yes.
The intention is to use horizontal directed drilling from under the sea below the cliffs where the old Sea Lion Cove was, and then tunnel up into the field right next to the cafe. So if you haven't got a magnetic personality now, Alex, you might well have one a bit later. I was thinking, as we've got this Pilates World Championship thing going on, perhaps we could have the world's fastest tram record. I don't know, Len Cohen to the cafe in 3 seconds or something.
Don't you dare call them the trams. They're actually steam engines. But yes, I get your point. Yeah, I mean, it would be a similar process to do. Were you here when the natural gas pipeline came ashore from Kirkmichael? That, of course, was a pipe that was then effectively like drilled up through the cliff and then has crossed the entire island, hasn't it? And now there's very little to show it was ever put in there. But at the time, it was a huge infrastructure project, which of course led to a rather large debt that the MUA is still paying. So yeah, you're right. It would be a massive infrastructure project if it goes ahead.
Well, not forgetting, you've got to get it from that field to Pulrose, which is, 4 or 5 miles away?
Yeah.
So not quite sure where that's going to go. The other bit was, on that little section, was the gas wholesale price has doubled in the last few days with all that's going on. Is the MUA going to conserve our own gas for local use and keep the price down rather than exporting the electricity to the UK, who are saying that they're low on their stocks? And if we export our stuff, we'll have to import, and that's at least twice the price. So I don't know. Are we going to be thinking about the Isle of Man's need for electricity to be kept as low as possible for the price, or are we going to be exporting it? I don't know.
I suppose it would depend from a layman's perspective, whether if we are exporting it and we are charging a premium rate for it, that we make more money in order to keep our electricity bills down by exporting it rather than selling it locally. So I suppose it would be purely a business decision based on pounds, shillings and pence, wouldn't it?
I'm curious, though, as to why the price has gone up when America has actually got their Navy supporting all the oil tankers that are going in and out the Straits of Hormuz. And when you look on Vessel Finder, they're all doing about 11 knots. At least. So I thought that there was supposed to be some problem with the pinch point there, but they seem to be flowing all right as far as I can see. So
well, we know full well when it comes to prices of fuel and fossil fuels and things like that, it's not necessarily all down to supply. It's same with OPEC. It depends on how many barrels they release as to what levels of price there are. So we know full well that it's not always down to whether there is a supply or demand. It's an element of confidence in the market, isn't it?
It's a bit like putting the price of petrol up a penny on almost the same day as the war started in Iran. Because that's kind of quick, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway,
finally,
weight loss. Do you need to lose weight, Julian?
No, I was just interested that Nick Kay was on the other day talking about it.
Yes.
Manjaro and stuff. I noticed that you've got Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk are making those drugs, and they are facing over 4,500 lawsuits just in the US over side effects, including gastroparesis or stomach paralysis, bowel shutdown, which is resulting in surgery, Wernicke's encephalopathy or brain swelling caused by low vitamin B1 and malnutrition, gallbladder injuries requiring surgery, colon rupture, thyroid cancer, and Ozempic teeth, which is caused by exceptionally low vitamin D levels, obviously down to this malnutrition thing again, with the food not processing at the right speed through the body. It seems that people are actually suffering elements of malnutrition.
In fairness, the one thing that Nick did say, of course, is that when it comes to this, these aren't sweets you go and pick up on a shelf. That they should be monitored through your GP, and there will be side effects. And I would also state that lawsuits are like any other case and everything else like this. They're not proven until they've passed through. So that if there has been a judgment on the lawsuits, then that's the case. I could quite happily claim anything as being caused by anything until it's proven. But do you feel then that if you feel they've got this level of side effects, like a number of drugs have, what do you think the outcome should be?
Well, the thing is, are they underplaying the side effects because it's the most profitable drug? It's even more profitable than the vaccines. And the other thing is, the NHS, the NICE guidance says no more than 2 years on this stuff, and apparently there are lots of people who are on it for a lot more than 2 years. And in the black box warning on both Mounjaro and Ozempic, it's talking about it is not known if it causes thyroid cancer. And Julian Bazin has done a study some time ago where he was finding a 78% increase in incidence of thyroid cancer, which is kind of bizarre that you've got a warning that's inside the safety insert, inside those injection packets. And there's a study saying, better watch out, guys, there's a problem with thyroid cancer. So I don't know. Are they underplaying the risks in the name of profit?
Well, the interesting thing is I would take, as I do all the time, devil's advocate and say, no one forces you to take this, obviously. It is a personal choice. You go in with your eyes wide open. In terms of drugs, one of the most dangerous, of course, is the ones we pick up all the time of paracetamol, which is why, in theory, you are restricted from the amount you can buy, even though you can walk from shop to shop to shop and buy them. And you rarely hear people, bat an eyelid about knocking back a few paracetamol. But in terms of the drugs there, yes, as time goes on, you could say that about any drug, that long-term consequences can't be, officially confirmed until people have been taking them for the long term. In the same way that everyone said that vaping was going to be a safer alternative to smoking, because quite frankly, they didn't have any long-term evidence, I suppose, did they?
No, well, the other one that's coming up as well, which I didn't mention, is a condition called NAION, which is this is thought to be caused by rapid weight loss and changes in the anterior part of the optic nerve blood supply. I think it stands for non-arteritic anterior ischemic optic neuropathy. So people are suddenly going blind, especially when the weight loss is at a very fast trajectory. So it's kind of changing the way that probably the squeeze on the blood vessels within the eye.
I would have to say, of course, though, Julian, that you aren't a medical professional. This is you reading a lot of possibly could be scaremongering, possibly could be internet stuff. That in terms of medical experience, you haven't got a history, a qualification, or any experience within the medical arena, have you?
No, the thing that caught my eye, though, was the 4,500 lawsuits just in one country. And I believe there's a load more down in South Africa as well, as they've started. I think they've started doing Wegovy down there.
Yeah.
So I'm just commenting on the fact that there are real lawsuits going on. So I don't know. That's just something to keep in mind. If people are thinking of doing it, it's always good to have informed consent. So, you have a little look at it and just don't wear the rose-tinted glasses necessarily.
Although I would, once again, thank you very much, Julian. I'm going to cut him off now because I've got someone else on. But that just to back up what I said there, informed consent is very good, but speak to a medical professional. Okay, scanning the internet and basically just going and downloading whatever sensationalist story from whatever media site you want is fantastic. However, go and speak to a medical professional. Speak to two, maybe get a third opinion, whatever you'd like. But do make sure that you get the information from a accredited medical professional. Right, it's 25 to 1. Some more of your comments coming in. Thank you very much. Here we go. Texter 591. More temporary traffic lights just south of the airport near the museum. There are queues on both sides of the road. The road is coned off and there's not a single person in sight doing any work. There doesn't seem to be any need for the lights, just cones and traffic signals causing delays. Thank you very much, Texter 591. The texter 572 says, I want to see the horse trams reinstated to the sea terminal, but there should also be an investigation into where the money has gone. Ignoring that would be negligent. I did have an email in from Rodney on those sorts of lines. Here we go. Saying that in terms of the promenade works, the horse trams were de-scoped from the promenade, so it came in on budget. Yes. I mean, it is smoke and mirrors, let's be honest. If the Liverpool ferry terminal, we could say, came in on budget if it was missing its roof and no gangplank to get on board the ship. But we finished the project. We just de-scoped bits of it. So no, effectively, the promenade went over budget, but they decided to cut the horse trams in order to try and make it come in on budget. So it was a big smoke and mirrors. And thank you, Rodney. He says, and the project lead on that was the Director of Highways, Jeff Robinson. It was under his purview. And he's now been promoted to the Deputy Chief Executive of the department. And in terms of the business case, he says, from what I'm hearing, it's been on his desk since last year. Well, thank you for that, Rodney. I've got no confirmation either way. I did... last time he was the infrastructure minister on his last run round, I invited Tim Crookall and also Jeff Robinson onto the radio to discuss this, and I didn't get a response on that front. So the offer is open there, gentlemen. If you're listening, Tim Crookall, come on with your officers, and let's discuss the promenade. It's also interesting. Thank you very much to Charlie, who sent me the Hansard of the original vote, crikey, for the horse trams back in 2017. Okay, it was a combined Tynwald vote for the horse trams going to the sea terminal. The only person who said no was the current infrastructure minister, Tim Crookall. All other members voted in favour. Thank you for that one, Charlie. And finally, we've got a texter 404. Concerns about population increase and pressure on services do not seem to be important to the government. Raising sufficient revenue to pay for the pensions of a top-heavy government appears to be their main concern. Thank you, texter 404. I suppose, in fairness to the government, they've got to raise money to maintain public services, and if that includes paying people, well, that obviously is part of the gig. Right, we'll speak to Bonzo after this.
Carpetland, the carpet specialist with the island's best value carpets in stock, often fitted within a week. Furnitureland, for three-piece suites, dining and living room furniture, and a selection of amazing beds. Carpetland and Furnitureland, West Street, Ramsey.
Visit Ramsey Art Gallery for a fabulous range of top brand watches and stunning gold and silver jewellery, gifts for all occasions, and of course our gallery of prints and original artworks. Find all this and more at Ramsey Art Gallery, Jewellers and Engravers, opposite the RNLI shop.
Charity of the Week, brought to you by Kell Properties.
At Manx Whale and Dolphin Watch, we connect people with the incredible marine life around our island. Through surveys, community events, and a busy public sightings network, we monitor whales, dolphins, porpoises, and basking sharks, collecting vital data to protect them. Search online for Manx Whale and Dolphin Watch and join us to learn, volunteer, and help safeguard our seas for future generations.
This advert is brought to you by Kell Properties.
Whatever your business, whatever its size, you can always rely on the island's leading fuel and oil supplier to keep you moving. Ellen Vannin Fuels, powering the island and powering industry. Call us on 844 000.
Corkhill Storage, Corkhill Storage. Call Corkhill Removals and Storage today. We'll store your goods day after day. Safe and secure around the clock. When it comes to storage, we do the lot. Click CorkhillRemovals.com.
Stock arriving weekly at Ramsey Garden Centre. Discover potted spring bulbs, summer bulbs, seed potatoes, onion and garlic sets, wildflower seeds, sweet pea, microgreens, plantable biodegradable pots and propagation essentials. Grow smarter, greener, season after season with Ramsey Garden Centre.
When the Mannin Line's not on air, call Manx Radio to leave your opinion for broadcast on 682 631.
Phone line's still open, 66 13 68. A variety of topics getting your goat on the texts today. Thank you to John, who says, when it comes to town cleanliness, has anyone noticed the state of Strand Street and Castle Street? They're absolutely filthy. Well, John, I suppose that falls under Douglas City Council. But yes, some areas are a bit... I mean, the promenade is not good to look at all. Roadworks and Traffic Management, Diane says, why can't they do roadworks overnight? In the UK, busy routes are often done overnight. It would make sense as the roads are less busy. I'll put money on the fact that it's down to money. Texter 382 says, the horse trams are part of our heritage. They're used by many and seen by everyone, yet many old buildings and houses are restricted by planning rules and repairs. They aren't allowed unless they're public buildings. It feels like there are two different rules, one for private properties and another for public ones. Oh, I see your point. Sorry, as in that the DOI were allowed to rip up the horse trams and not put them back down. And, I can see where you're coming from, but if you're a private landowner, you wouldn't be allowed to do that with heritage. James says, I'm in favour of the horse trams being fully reinstated, and I'm sure they will be, but this looks like a prime example of two MHKs hoping to be re-elected and now jumping on the bandwagon. That is an argument you can throw to all MHKs, I suppose, in an election year. All their actions that seem to be popular always seem to happen before an election. Then just wait till next year when the new lot get in and you find all the unpopular stuff being done in the hope that in 4 years' time we'll all forget. And thank you very much to Marie, who says, if the government is going to promote the Radna Follen as a rewarding walk for visitors, then significant repairs are needed. This is the coastal footpath, of course, the way of the Seagull Radna Follen. Walking along a section in the west, it's unsafe in parts. Wooden gates are lying broken in the hedgerows. There are unsafe steps with broken handrails. These repairs need to be done as soon as possible to avoid any accidents. Thank you very much, Marie, on that one. What's your thoughts on the state of our island's footpaths and the stuff that we should be maintaining that just makes life nice, as opposed to stuff that's just anything to do with essential government services? Things that makes things nice, tidy places up, give things a coat of paint. Make sure stuff works. That kind of stuff. I'd love to hear your opinion on it. Bonzo's been waiting patiently. Hello, Bonzo. How are you?
Hello. Yes. Well, I'm okay. But hearing Julian talking about all these class actions about Ozempic and Manjaro. And
yes.
Yes. I'm thinking I ought to get my class action together for all the E numbers that I had growing up, especially E121. Which is what made orange squash nice and orangey.
Oh, of course, yes.
But it was a colourant made from coal tar.
Wow.
Of all things, yeah. A few things. So I think some chemical companies have got something to pay me for. But then again, the upside of it was, as their lawyers would doubtless argue, was that you didn't have a weight problem because you could play all day.
That was that. I mean, let's be honest. People always joke about filling your kids full of E numbers, and if you look at some of the sweets and things like that, it certainly makes them hyperactive. Okay, if on a slightly more.
A lot of them, of course, were outlawed in the later 70s and the early 80s. So if you want to look at the contents of a bottle of Robertson's orange squash or the back of a packet of Spangles, you'll realise why kids ran around all day.
Yeah, and I mean, do you think maybe a lot of it is down to this has come from America, of course, a very litigious society where as soon as there is anything wrong, right, I'm going to sue you, right, we'll get the lawyers in, right, we'll go to court, and there's always class actions. And of course, in the UK, a lot of it came from the no win, no fee scenario, which some would say, thankfully, is not legal in the Isle of Man. But people, instead of turning around and going, okay, well, we thought this was all right at the time, and now it's not. Things have changed. We move on. There always has to be a blame for everything now.
Yes, but then again, as you rightly say, no win, no fee came in UK, so it was right.
Yeah.
Let's have a go and see how much compo we can get. So you then ended up with things like what was it? PPI.
PPI, yes, of course.
Where they just thought, no, it's not worth the legal hassle. Let's just have a scheme where we just give people money because it's cheaper.
It is. Anyway, Bonzo, sorry, you wanted to talk about energy prices.
Energy prices, yes. Well, energy prices, as far as I recall, with the MUA, and this, I suppose, would also be applicable to Isle of Man Energy. They hedge their gas supplies. Mm-hmm. So, they've paid for it at a pre-agreed rate for a number of months. So, the big price impact on that, if things continue as they are, will be when those hedging contracts end. but those things are usually quarterly or half yearly. So that at least should be relatively restrained. The two bigger areas, I think, are flights, because Jet A1 has gone up, well, it's doubled. And although airlines, of course, hedge their fuel as well, that will come in fairly shortly, I should think, and people will be looking at the prices that they can charge on fares, and also the validity economically of the services they provide.
Bonzo, from that, do you feel then that whilst we know full well that the kind of situation in the Middle East is going to have some sort of effect on fuel prices as time goes on, do you feel that, in your opinion, some businesses and providers use this as an excuse to stick the price up, or do you feel that basically we're just immune to it and it's going to happen anyway? We're not immune to it, sorry.
Well, I mean, in terms of with petrol going up, diesel going up at the pumps, there's two pushes on this. Firstly, there's the fact that obviously the oil that the refineries would get, and then the stuff that you get, goes up in price. But also the fact that what you've got at the moment, it's going to become scarce, and you don't know whether there is going to be the resupply that's going to be able to. So you then push up the price with the stuff that you've got, so that there's a certain amount of trying to quench demand a bit, and also quench people sort of rushing to the pumps and just filling up willy-nilly, so you can actually eke out the reserves that you had. I mean, we used to have a strategic fuel reserve, as I recall, in the old something like 60 days. But I think those got filled in. Howard could tell you about that, but I think they were filled in, so we don't have strategic reserves anymore. The real problem is heating oil. Okay, we're not we're not having to use those in the sun, but people will stock up. But heating oil and stuff, pretty much overnight.
Okay, Bonzo, I'm going to cut you short there because your phone keeps on cutting out. But thanks very much for calling. And he's got a point that we don't run out overnight with heating oil as much as we probably will with petrol. And no matter how much that we've been trying, or the government has been trying to, transfer people over to things like ground source heat pumps and air heat pumps and all this kind of stuff, most houses are still heated by fossil fuels on the island, or oil or gas. So that is going to have an effect. The only possible plus point is we're heading towards, in theory, summer and warmer months where we might not have the heating on as much. Do give me a call. I've got a few minutes left, 66 13 at 68. A few more of your messages. Thank you to Desmond, been a bit cheeky to Bonzo there. I'm saying nothing. Thank you to Texter 951. When it comes to, sadly, Douglas does look a state. Any ideas why the old boating pond kiosk toilet's roof? Nothing has been done over 10 months. Probably have to start over again. That's a good point, actually. You go past there and it's all got Harris fencing up. And they kind of did part of the roofs and then left them. Devon Watson's normally very good to come and talk to us from Douglas City Council. If you're listening, Devon, or anyone from Douglas City Council, get in touch. Let us know why that work is not progressing. I presume it's Douglas City Council. If it's not, I'll gladly, of course, confirm that. James says, I don't think there's enough space left for the horse trams to run on the grass back to the sea terminal. Look at the amount of space required. Where they currently end with crossings over footpaths and public interaction areas, there could be significant health and safety issues running them along the section now. Perhaps the government is not being as clear as it could be on this. In fairness, James, people use health and safety as an excuse for everything without realistic. I'll just point out that if any MHK or any officer from the DOI or anyone in Tynwald stands up and says, oh, it's very dangerous running a horse tram with people around, go to Disney. Go to Disney where they have identical horse trams. They don't run with people in front of them holding sticks and sirens and things like this. And there are tens upon thousands of people which they are walking through the park with horse trams running with no issues. Okay, so it's just simply scaremongering if someone says that you can't run the horse trams down there. It's pure and utter scaremongering. Thank you very much to Peter, who says, talking about heritage and being able to rip it up, if I had one of those Viking mounds in my back garden, would I be allowed to dig it up and level my garden? I would pretty much say no, Peter. But I see where you're going with that. And thank you very much to Trish, who says, will there be a reduction in parking spaces when they reinstate the horse trams? No, Trish. The weed corridor from effectively the Sefton down to the sea terminals where the horse trams will go, the parking spaces will not be affected according to the plans. Steve's been on, wants to talk about the roads. Hello, Steve.
How you doing, Alex? You okay?
I'm not so bad, mate. How are you? Have you been stuck in the traffic today?
Well, yeah, I was till I turned around, gave up and went home in the end.
Oh, dear.
What's the point? It's you just get bored of discussing the same old rubbish, really. But, the thing is, these roads, they are absolutely a joke. And one of the main areas that I'll talk to you about now is Ballasalla, the village, all right?
Yep.
It is an absolute death trap. It is an absolute joke. We're talking steelworks that are raised up, tarmac that's come away, and the rain's got in and washed the foundations where the tarmac was away. We've now got holes that are 6, 7 and 8 inches deep. These will take your wheel off your car if you're unfortunate enough to go into the hole. The roundabout at Balfane, Alex, you must have drove over there within the past few weeks. It is an absolute death trap. The DOI are allowed to get away with this, and it is an absolute joke. They take money off people, the government, fast enough, get some things done for the people here. I'm sick, and I'm just speaking on behalf of myself, but I probably speak a lot of people, back me up on this. I'm fed up of going out. I've got a lovely motorhome. I will not use it over here. I'm going to sell it because I'm sick to the back teeth of having it shaken to pieces when I take it out. The roads are a disgrace. Nothing ever gets done about it. And then another thing that I couldn't believe this, I went down to Gansey earlier on. There's a queue at the lights. I thought, fair enough, I'll wait your turn and get through. When the lights went to green, I get through. I'm driving past a lane that has got traffic lights there, cones cordoning a lane off with nothing in it. It's a total clear lane. If you move the cones, you could drive up and down it. Why are they doing this? Same at the airport. We've got another lane cordoned off with lights up, cordoning fresh air off. Now, that's annoying, Alex, as you could probably understand when you've got a volume of traffic wanting to get where they're going. Mm-hmm. The road network over here, you can't be doing this. The DOI just think they're in the UK, we'll just close our road off. This morning, Alex, it was a right performance coming past Ferry Bridge. I have never in my life, and I've been here all my life, I've never seen traffic like that. It was horrendous. We weren't moving. And the queuing from B&Q lower roundabout, and we were queuing right back beyond the Ferry Bridge. That is an absolute joke because they go and close the road on the old Castletown end. Well, yet in the UK, they could work on one side of the road, keep it open, then cross over, open that side, and work on the other side. Who is running these idiots over here? And who is getting away with this, Alex? Time and time again. Nothing ever gets done.
I have to ask you, Steve, in terms of the issues you've highlighted there, I mean, the Ballasalla, when it comes to the road and the bypass, effectively, that's been built by a private contractor as part of the planning conditions, and it's not been connected up yet because the DOI hasn't. I mean, I know it's in the plan. They've had been held back from issues with coal tar. Have you been to your MHKs about this? Those are the people who are meant to be representing you and banging the drum.
Same, how do I be very polite, careful what I say now.
Please do.
Same problem, different suit. Wherever you go to, nothing ever gets done. MHKs, nah. Anyone, honestly, there's no point banging against a brick wall. You can go there with all the right paraphernalia, bring a main subject or a topic to them and a problem to it. Nothing ever gets sorted because they might do the job good, but as soon as they go above them, it's blocked. And this bypass, the private contractor does their job. Yeah, we'll get you, give us permission to build these houses, we'll build you a bypass. So they honour their agreement and they build the bypass. Bang. Government DOI haven't got a clue. Oh, we can't connect the two roads up. Why then? Well, the drainage under the roundabout's not very good. If you've got a UK company in, I reckon within 4 to 6 weeks that will be wide open, flowing like a river. Over here, it's been closed for years. And it goes on and goes on, Alex, and goes on. And we're the poor people that have to live here and put up with this. And people say, well, there's a boat in the morning. Yeah, there is, but people can't afford to use that because it's so expensive. So we go in circles, Alex, really. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Steve, I've got a texter in from 614 who says, I agree with Steve 100%. So says the rest of the Isle of Man. I
should run for minister. I'll be the chief minister and I'll change the island for you, Alex. Trust me.
Well, I was going to say, in terms of making a difference, Steve, there is an election in September. Are you thinking of standing?
You know what? I would love to, because I would change things, because you've only got to, you look at the island as we had it. We had Summerland, the Crescent Leisure Centre, White City, everything we had when we were kids growing up here. Bang, close it, rip it down. Right, what are we going to do? What are they going to build in place of it? Car park. And it's like, we've lost so much. If we could take our kids back for just a couple of hours and show them what we had growing up here, they would not want to come back to 2026. Because there's nothing here. There's nothing here, Alex.
Do you feel, in defence, Steve, of shall we say, the current government, is that ever since the VAT bombshell, which is nearly 20 years ago now, that when the government lost that income, that really, maybe when it comes to the roads especially, which is what you rang up about, that it's deferred maintenance. This is something that...
Well, why don't they get around the table? I'll tell you what, we can't put the roads right. We can't do it. It's too expensive. Stop charging road tax. And I'll use the money that I was going to give you for a sticker on my windscreen, and I'll get the car fixed. That's fine. Fair enough. Or, if you live in a certain area, if it's going to go back to the old ages, we'll fix our own roads. We'll do our own area where we live, and you don't pay road tax. But they've got a cheek, Alex. They're charging people. Some of these cars are £500 and £600 and £700 a year road tax. And for what? What is that money for?
Well,
what is it supposed to be doing?
I will play devil's advocate, Steve, whilst I know full well...
You've got to, Alex, you've got to.
I've got to. I know full well that a large number of people would agree with you, but what we do is we pay vehicle tax as opposed to road tax. So, and the money from vehicle tax goes towards the roads budget, but they will claim that, of course, there's never enough money. And a huge amount of the DOI budget goes, of course, on maintaining the roads around the TT course as well, which are done to a higher standard. So that's
another conversation, Alex.
It's another conversation for another day. Thank you, Steve. Thanks for your call.
God bless you, Alex.
Cheers, bye. God bless me. Crikey, I've never had a show end like that before. Thank you very much. Phil said, surely it's time we address the number of cars on the island. The Quarterbridge yesterday afternoon had cars backing up as if it was a rush hour working day. It's only going to get worse if more people move here, and with every teenager wanting a car, where's it all going to end? These thousands of cars are contributing to the damage on our already potholed roads. Thank you, Phil. Well, there's an old railway track to Peel we could lay back down. I'd catch a tram into work, Thank you very much for your company today. Thank you to Texter 425. If you want an opinion, ring one in. Thank you to Chris Quirk, my producer today. I'll be back tomorrow. Christy's up next. Have a lovely Monday afternoon, won't you? Ta-da.